One of the easiest reasons to say why conjugate doesn't work is to say that there is not enough volume in the system to elicit a response. And that statement is usually followed up by some sort of volume is the biggest driver of strength and hypertrophy. And back in the day when I heard both of those things, I used to just think the person was an idiot, and I used to think that volume didn't matter because A, I didn't understand conjugate, and B, I did not understand the importance of volume. Because when we look at conjugate periodization, it is very true that there is not a lot of volume on the main lifts, on your max effort work, and in your dynamic effort work. There just isn't. Like, one heavy single per week and 8 doubles, that's not a lot of volume. Like, really, look at it. There isn't a lot there when we're talking about the actual competition movements or the competition patterns. And because there isn't a lot of volume there, and because conjugate was working for me, I just assumed those people are stupid and volume doesn't matter, and that the scientists are dorks that don't know what they're talking about. In reality, I just didn't understand conjugate periodization, and I didn't understand where the volume was coming from in order to generate the stimulus. Because in conjugate periodization, yes, there is hardly any volume on the main lifts, but that volume does not need to come from those main lifts necessarily. Because with conjugate, yes, we have our max effort, yes, we have our dynamic effort, but we also have our secondary exercises, and we also have our accessory lifts. And with conjugate, it's not the max effort that is driving strength. It's the accessories and the secondaries that are providing that volume stimulus to create that adaptation, to allow us to then begin to learn to display that strength with max effort work. So let me repeat myself there. With conjugate, your max effort lifts are not building strength. Your max effort lifts are refining your ability to display strength. We are going to be building our strength with our accessories and with our secondary lifts. And it's like conjugate is this big pyramid where we got at the tip of the triangle, I guess at the very, very, very tip, you would have your meet day with your squat, bench, deadlift on the platform. Just below that peak of the triangle, you're going to have your max effort movements. Just below that, you're going to have your dynamic effort movements. Below that, you're going to have your secondary movements, getting a little bit wider here. And on the very bottom, you're going to have your accessory lifts as your big base that is supporting everything. So if you are not succeeding with conjugate, one of the first places I would look is whether or not you are training enough accessory lifts, you're getting enough volume in your accessory lifts, and you're doing your accessories with the right intent to actually generate enough stimulus to support the rest of that pyramid. Because without a base, your pyramid ain't going to be very tall, and it's probably going to be a little bit tippy, and you're probably going to suck when it comes to meet day. And something else to think about with conjugate is that when we're setting up that pyramid, we're going to build it from the top down. Which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a great strategy to build a pyramid, but that's the one that I'm going with, so just stick with me for the analogy. So we're going to have our max effort lifts, and the goal of the max effort lifts is to do something that will help us out on the competition lifts. And it's not so much building weak points. I'm not necessarily thinking about building weak points, but I'm thinking about training my ability to strain through a point that I will need to strain through on my competition deadlift or competition squat or competition bench. So like, for example, like with my squats right now, a lot of my squats are just comp squats because I don't have a blatant point that I need to be better at straining through, or I don't have a technical point that I need to be outright better at in technique wise or in skill wise. So I'm just squatting for max effort on squats. On the other hand, with deadlifts, just because of my lack of leverage or lack of strength through that mid-range, now that I have my start position sorted out, my start position is solid, a lot of my max effort work is pulling off of a low block with a stiff bar and bands just to challenge me to strain through that point where I suck and to force me to get better at straining through that point where I suck. So the max effort builds off of what we need for the competition lifts. Not necessarily building a weak point, but just building our ability to strain where we need to get better at straining. From there, our speed work is just going to be able to, or is just there to help us get better at producing force, and that's going to be where most of our actual outright skill practice, groove greasing, pattern building happens. Our secondary lifts, we're going to look at what's happening on our max effort, look what's happening on our speed work, and think, okay, where do we need to build up strength? What sucks? What is the missing link? And how can we fill this with an exercise? And it's like my deadlift example, that mid-range sticking point is actually because my quads aren't really helping me shove my hips through. So it's like, yes, the glutes shove the hips through from the back, but if the quads aren't levering the femur forward from the front side, that's why I'm not getting my hips through on a deadlift right now. Again, I have history of a pretty big, nasty quad rupture, and that's still I don't think giving me trouble, but I'm still working and building back and trying to get all the way back from that. And it is coming. And a big reason that it is coming is because I've started to do more quad work specific to what I need on a deadlift. So I'm doing a lot of things like narrow front squats, narrow no hand safety bar box squats, split squats with big forward knee travel. And those are my secondary lifts to challenge my quad where it needs to be challenged, to shove that hip through on my deadlift. And then the next level of the pyramid with the base, we're going to look at what do we need to be doing accessory-wise to support and build everything that we are doing on our secondaries, which is then going to support and build everything that we're doing on our dynamic effort work and max effort work, which is then going to support everything that we need to happen on the platform. So it's like our accessories build to contribute to our secondaries, which build and contribute to our max effort, which builds and contributes to the platform. So you need to think about Conjugate as, yes, there's not a lot of volume on the main movements up top, but we're getting the volume, we're building the base through that pyramid all the way up so that we do have enough volume to get stronger, to get jacked, to make progress. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Hopefully that wasn't just bullshit rambling. Either way, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Hit like if you liked it. Fuck it, hit dislike if you disliked it and you think I'm full of shit. Please don't do that, but if I am full of shit, I need to get better, so I need to know. So yeah, maybe do hit that dislike button because you will be doing me a favor in the long run. Anyways, subscribe, follow me at Dr. Seth Albersworth on Instagram, and shoot me a DM if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, guys.